Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back. And this week, folks, I have an amazing lineup of Pokemon card auctions. There is just so much to digest here. I'm so glad you tuned in. You're going to really enjoy today's episode. We saw several graded cards from the newest set, Crown Zenith. Tons and tons of Black Label slabs came by. Tons of super expensive full art English trainer cards dating all the way back to the black and white era. So stay tuned for all that and more. Before we get into this auction recap, let me just say that today's video is sponsored by Z&G Emporium's eBay auction consignment service. You can visit zngemporium.com for the details on how to submit your cards for auction. Folks, they do all the work of scanning, listing, and shipping your graded Pokemon cards for almost the same rate you'd be paying to do it yourself anyway. So if you have graded Pokemon cards you've been looking to sell, check out zngemporium.com. So let's get into this auction recap, starting off with some graded Crown Zenith cards. Here we have an Origin Form Palkia V-Star, one of the 4 gold secret rare cards from this set in PSA 10, sold this week for $240. The Origin Form Dialga V-Star sold for a little bit more at $255. The Arceus V-Star sold this week as a PSA 10 for $350. And the Giratina V-Star blew the other 3 away, selling this week for $730 as a Gem Mint 10. Perhaps the most popular card from this set, the Full Art Secret Rare Pikachu, came by yet again and seemed to be selling for around $310, so still not too bad this week. And then we saw the Radiant Charizard come by in a PSA 10, and it sold this week for $136. What's that, you say? You want to see a ton of Black Label cards? You got it. Here we have a BGS 10 Black Label Japanese Old Maid Eevee card, sold for $222.50. We saw this V-Star Universe Galarian Moltres Black Label card that sold for $465. Here is a Black Label Noivern GX from Hidden Fates that sold this week for $680. Here is an XY Sword and Shield Japanese Promo Pikachu, also got the Black Label, sold for an even $500. Here is a Flying Pikachu VMAX from Celebration set that sold for $577.89. Here's a 25th anniversary Japanese Shining Magikarp, Black Label, sold for $1,325, while the Japanese 25th anniversary Venusaur Holo sold for about $700 US. And the Black Label Japanese Blastoise Holo sold for $615. Here we have an English Rainbow Rare Glaceon VMAX. Got the BGS 10 Black Label and sold this week for $750. Here's a Japanese Championship Point Reward promo card that sold for $1,200. And then a Black Label English Rayquaza VMAX from Evolving Skies came by yet again, selling for $3,650. Here we have a BGS 10 Umbreon VMAX, not the Black Label, but still sold for $1,225. And then here we saw a Japanese Umbreon VMAX, got the CGC 10 Perfect grade, and it sold for $4,350. We saw a couple of interesting alternate art team-up cards come by. Here's a PSA 10 Magikarp Wailord GX, sold for $511, while the Latios and Latios Alt Art GX card came by in a PSA 10, and it sold for $1,125. Up next, folks, we have several very expensive English waifu trainer cards, starting with Lily from Ultra Prism in PSA 10. This card sold this week for $1,125. Here is a full art Lycia from Celestial Storm, sold for $510. Here's a Professor Juniper from the Black and White Plasma Freeze set, sold as a PSA 10 for $562. From Boundaries Cross, we saw a Bianca full art trainer sell for $865. And also from Boundaries Crossed, here's a full art Skyla that sold for $2,050. And then lastly, this one here is Japanese, but it's a first edition full art Iris from the Megalo Cannon set that sold for $2,523 big ones this week. Let's transition into some vintage cards, starting off with some absolute heat in this Raichu Holo, PSA 10 from first edition base, sold in auction for $7,450. Here is a no symbol Mr. Mime Holo from Jungle, sold as a Gem Mint 10 for $859. And then here is a PSA 10 first edition Articuno Holo from Fossil, by far the lowest pop of the 3 legendary birds from this set, sold for $3,619. And then here from Team Rocket Set is a first edition Magneton Holo. The lowest pop holo from first edition Team Rocket. Sold for $3,050, which is pretty low. This card has been selling for like over $6,000 in the past few sales. This week sold for $3,050. So whoever bought this, I believe, got an incredible deal. From Gym Challenge, we saw a first edition Erika's Venusaur holo come by, and it sold for an even $3,000. And then we saw numerous cards from Neo Destiny come by. Let's go over them from least expensive to greatest, starting off with this Light Azumarill. First edition PSA 10 sold for $311. The Dark Porygon 2 sold for $405. Dark Ampharos sold for $580. Dark Houndoom, $688. Dark Typhlosion, $730. And the Dark Feraligatr sold for $901 this week. The Light Dragonite sold for $1,175, while the Dark Gengar sold for $1,325. Light Arcanine hit some big numbers, selling for $2,425, and the Dark Espeon First Edition Holo sold for $4,050 this week. Several Shining cards also came by. Here's a Shining Kabutops, sold for $1,145. Shining Noctowl sold for $1,150. Shining Steelix, $1,301. Shining Celebi, $1,495. Shining Raichu had two examples come by. One sold for $1,800, the other one $2,150. The Shining Mewtwo sold for $3,300 this week. And last but not least, the Shining Tyranitar sold for the most at $3,500. A couple of E-Series cards came by. Here's a holographic Gengar from Skyridge, sold for $3,750. We saw two Japanese Crystal Charizards come by in PSA 10. One sold for $11,500. The other one, $11,300. A couple of Gold Stars came by as well. Here's a Gold Star Jolteon, sold for $2,105, while the Gold Star Alakazam from EX Crystal Guardian sold for $3,550. Here is a PSA 9 Gold Star Umbreon from the Pop Series 5 that sold for $5,200 this week. And then here, I wasn't sure where to put this in the video, it's a Japanese 700-point promo holographic Porygon. In PSA 10 sold for $4,850 this week. All right, on to some sealed product. We have a couple of very interesting sales. Here are three modern graded booster packs. You have an Astral Radiance, well, two Astral Radiance packs and an Evolving Skies. The Astral Radiance pack sold for $45 and $50, while the Evolving Skies sold for $73. So as far as the Astral Radiance packs goes, whoever graded these, I think, lost some money. Here is a graded Deoxys booster pack featuring Rayquaza. The Rayquaza artwork. This is a PSA 8 pack, whatever that means. Sold for a couple of XY booster boxes came by. Here's a sealed Primal Clash box. Sold for $440. This Breakthrough box sold for $520. And this Ancient Origins booster box sold for $763. A couple of first edition base set graded packs came by. Here's a PSA 9 Venusaur art that sold for $3,300, while the PSA 9 Blastoise art sold for $3,450. And then lastly on eBay, we saw a first edition sealed Team Rocket box sell for an even $13,000. Up next, some big cards from this week's PWCC auction block. Here's a holographic Blastoise from Expedition Set, one of my favorite Blastoise cards of all time. Sold as a PSA 10 for $2,280. Here's a CGC 9.5 Reverse Holo Charizard from Legendary Collection. Sold for $4,680. Here's a PSA 10 20th Anniversary Japanese Pikachu Festa card featuring three of the original starters on it. Sold for $6,900 this week. Here is a CGC 10 French First Edition base set Charizard. Sold for $21,600. Here's a CGC 9.5 English First Edition base set Charizard. Sold for $27,600. A First Edition PSA 10 base Blastoise came by. Sold for $28,800. And then here, this is quite interesting, folks. It is a Corporate History PSA 9 Beta Chansey card. And I do believe this was the beta art from Ueyama, kind of designing the layout of the card, where to put the HP and all the other symbols at. So it's pretty interesting in that aspect. I think that Ken Sugimori put the finishing touches on this card in terms of the final release, but that's a pretty interesting concept there. This card sold as a PSA 9 this week for $31,200. And the auction of the week I'm going to have to give to this Japanese Gold Star Espeon. This is actually a 40,000 point promo card, so the PSA label is mislabeled. This card sold as a PSA 10 this week for $48,000. Thank you all so much for watching. There were a ton of noteworthy auctions that came by. Which one was your favorite? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'm looking forward to hearing from you folks. Thanks again for tuning in. I will catch you all in my next one.